After 3 decades of marriage, my wife has been emotionally distant for the past 6 to 9 months. I finally mustered the courage to ask her if I still brought her any joy. Her reaction was one of anger, as if she were shocked that I would even question it. When I tried to revisit the topic this week, she became even more distant. She bluntly told me that there was nothing left to discuss. She had already consulted a lawyer 2 weeks ago and requested my financial statement. She's refusing to go to couples therapy, something we tried 15 years ago, but the therapist dismissed her after she wouldn't admit to needing any changes. I told her that if this is truly what she wants, I would respect her decision. I also suggested that, after 30 years together, perhaps we should consider separation first. She said she needed to consult her lawyer and would only agree if she could end the separation whenever she wished. When I asked how we should break the news to our kids, ages 25, 23, 21, 17, and 12, she responded that they probably wouldn't be surprised. A week later, she moved into a separate bedroom. During a family dinner at a sports bar, she suddenly told the kids, "You might have noticed I'm not wearing my wedding ring. This marriage is over." 2 of our children ran out to the parking lot in tears. I followed them to offer comfort, then texted her that we were hitting a rough patch. Our kids are now avoiding her. We're both in our early 50s. Over the past year, she's become obsessed with fitness, dressing like she's in her 20s, spending 3 hours a day at the beach, and going out with friends on weekdays. She's become very socially active. She hasn't worked in 27 years, and I've always been the sole breadwinner. I finally gave in and checked her phone records. She's been texting a number of people I don't know, both men and women, constantly from early morning until midnight. There are more messages to the women than the men. My wife is a devout Christian, so I don't think there's a physical affair, but I suspect she's emotionally involved with someone. I'm really struggling with this situation, feeling like we're stuck in an uncomfortable limbo. I consulted a lawyer who advised me not to leave our home. As a doctor, I sometimes work long hours at the hospital, but when I'm home, she barely speaks to me unless I start the conversation. She's very protective of her phone and takes calls outside. She hasn't served me with divorce papers yet. I only checked her phone records after she told me 2 weeks ago that she wanted a divorce. For a year now, she's been displaying all the classic signs, obsessing over her phone, texting constantly, and suddenly finding a new best friend. The phone records confirmed what I had suspected. Starting in June, there was a surge in texts and calls every day. These usually began in the morning, and she'd spend 2 to 3 hours at the beach while the kicker was that she was texting this guy, even while she was telling our kids that she was ending our marriage. When I confronted her with the guy's name, she denied everything. But when I showed her the phone records, she claimed they were just beach buddies. This all happened right after she painted at church on Sunday. It turns out she had spent Saturday evening with him while I was working an overnight shift. I suppose the guilt got to her, and then she had the nerve to tell me I needed to leave RH. I told her there was no way that was happening. It's my house, and I haven't done anything wrong. I reached out to my lawyer, asking how she could kick me out of my own home and away from my kids when she's the one being unfaithful and wanting to end the marriage. This situation is incredibly painful. I'm on an emotional roller coaster, angry, sad, and finally relieved that my suspicions over the past 6 months were accurate. I guess the truth really does S. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, I drove by his beachfront condo on my way to work at 7:30 and took a picture of her car parked there. I've got my proof, but I need to be cautious because of my job. Ending up in jail is not an option for me. I'm currently at work pulling an overnight shift at the hospital. She's never had to work a day in her life. I've provided everything for her. She even went on 2 cruises this year. But 6 weeks after we returned, she went cold and started we've got 5 kids between us. I'm far from perfect, but I'm no villain either. Maybe I'm just too generous for my own good. What really boggles my mind is how she can flat out deny everything, even when confronted with undeniable proof. The look in her eyes felt like I was staring at a stranger, not the woman I've shared 30 years with. On a somewhat lighter note, once I discovered who the guy was, I couldn't resist sending him a friend request on Facebook. Watching her phone blow up with notifications was a bit of a twisted thrill. I hired the most formidable lawyer I could find, someone she despises because he's previously dealt with her in a friend's divorce case. He was ecstatic when I handed over all the evidence. I had given her everything out of affection, but that's not a mistake I'll make again. I've informed the older kids about her new boyfriend, but I'm wrestling with how to break the news to the 12 and 17-year-olds. I've also told my work partners that I'm taking a leave to be with the kids, which will impact my income. The older kids have distanced themselves from her. I've shared her betrayal with her siblings and our priest, given her prominent role in the church and social circles. She's made her bed. Now she'll have to lie in it with her new partner. I've sent an email to all her family members with the incriminating phone records and photos. Her social life is over. I drafted a letter detailing her affair and sent it out to her Facebook friends, family, and the priest. I even called her brother. I went to the bank, opened a new account, moved some money, and then took off for a weekend medical conference. I broke the news to the kids, who weren't surprised. I canceled the credit cards and spent the day blasting Eminem's I'm Not Afraid, a perfect soundtrack for this kind of situation. Now, my attention is on the other guy. He's divorced and without family ties. I'm plotting how to handle him legally. I've let my wife know that my lawyer and I are eagerly anticipating his deposition. I'm also considering packing her belongings into a trash bag and leaving them at his place with a note. Fortunately, he's divorced with no kids. I know where he works. He has a security clearance for a defense contractor. I sent an email to the CEO suggesting they might want to reassess his security clearance, as the military doesn't take adultery lightly. It was satisfying to see their phones light up with notifications. I thought a friendly email to the head of his HR department, which would get forwarded to the CEO, might add a nice touch. After all, it's a small town. One last thing on my agenda. When I return to town, I'll make sure to follow through with leaving her clothes at his place with a note. After that, I'll consider it all settled. Hey guys, it's been a wild week, but my advice is to just go for it and trust your instincts. If you suspect she's cheating, there's a good chance she is. Do your homework and follow the advice out there. You'll find the peace you're searching for. Don't let these women walk all over you. Keep track of everything: phone records, texts, photos of her car at his place on different occasions, and time spent on the beach. The best evidence is in the details. She even tried to justify her actions. Her friend told my son that they had so much in common and that she just hasn't been happy. My son didn't hold back and told her exactly where to go. She told her sister it was my fault, claiming I drove her to another man. Now that I'm back in town, she's still acting all high and mighty, playing the victim, and spreading the story that I'm the one who pushed her into this, among other things. She even said I was fat. Seriously, I'm 6 feet tall and 240 pounds, hardly obese. I asked her how she could keep the $4,000 necklace I gave her for our anniversary just 6 weeks ago. I thought it was a nice gesture, especially since she served me communion at church all last month. She's been playing mind games, trying to act like a teenager at her best friend's sister's house, while she's actually the one sleeping on the couch. Meanwhile, I'm comfortably sleeping in my own bed. She's really ramping up the mind games, telling everyone I'm crazy and that her affair is all in my head. I checked her email, and as I suspected, she's got 2 toxic female friends. One is a troublemaker whose husband is a pushover, and the other just got divorced from my wife's first boyfriend from 40 years ago, before I even came into the picture. Her divorce was finalized 6 weeks ago, which means she's been getting coaching from her recently divorced friend. The kids have been telling me that she's going out to buy alcohol, even though her friends have begged her to stop drinking altogether. Now they think I'm trying to paint her as an unfit mom, which wasn't my intention at all. I found out she even shared my emails with her girlfriends, and they're all gossiping about it. How twisted is that? She deserves an Oscar for her performance. Here's the latest. She told my best friend's wife in July that she was leaving and wanted to do things for herself. Keep in mind, she hasn't worked in 28 years. She's claiming that I spent her inheritance, but the truth is, she blew $40,000 in a single afternoon on art and jewelry. I'm hoping to find the receipts this week. Her sense of entitlement is off the charts. Today, I discovered she had an IT guy at the house. I'm curious about what she's looking for since my laptop was with me all day. Any ideas on why she'd need to check my hard drive or firewall? The IT guy used to work as a network admin for Viper Technologies and is now freelancing. I found her cell conversation with him earlier today and confirmed that she's looking for some information. She wasn't expecting me to have evidence on her. I just want to get the receipt for the $40,000 worth of jewelry she bought in one afternoon to show the judge how out of touch with reality she is. It's tough being 3 hours away for another day, as she could be selling my stuff. I'm meeting with my lawyer soon, who's a real tough guy. I'm considering filing in the city, which would be a different venue than our small town where her family has been for a century. I want to stay ahead of her, especially since she's had 2 lawyer visits before I even started. How quickly can one file? And how do I get my name off the title to her car so I'm not liable if she gets drunk and crashes it? Now that I'm home, she's acting like a petulant child, burning up the cell phone and chatting with a new number I suspect belongs to the other man. I heard her tell whoever it was, "I love you." It's a new unlisted number, and she's got a password-protected router set up. I'm going to keep the pressure on. I'm wondering why she hasn't filed yet. It's been a month since she mentioned her lawyer needed my financial affidavit, and I haven't seen anything. I told her to have her lawyer contact mine, but there's been no response. I've decided to let her file first, as she claims she would, so my kids will always know she was the one who ended it. Unless this drags on for another month, I plan to take the initiative. What's her game plan? Did her lawyer give her a reality check? Between her first and second visits, I exposed the affair. I'm just trying to stay one step ahead of her. I had my lawyer send a letter to hers and set up a new password-protected router last night. She was furious about that, and about discovering she had no money in the bank yesterday. My lawyer mentioned that cutting off her funds would push her to act more quickly. Luckily, I did it because when I got home, I found a receipt for a new Victoria's Secret bra from this week. We live in a conservative area, and it's a no-fault state, so assets will be divided 50-50. However, her alimony claim just took a big hit. The hardest part is maintaining a 180 with the kids around. Any advice on that? I'm trying to stay calm and direct in my interactions with her, avoiding anger or hostility. I engage in a little small talk, which she responds to with coldness. She's been stomping around the house like a child having a tantrum, dripping with sarcasm. It's like watching an addict who's had their fix taken away. Should the kids be seeing this? I'm careful not to speak ill of her in front of them, but my son's football game is on Friday night. I don't want to be around her or be at the game except for him. How do I keep up the 180 while the kids are around? I'm struggling with this limbo. She says she wants a divorce, got caught red-handed, and now she's just being distant and bitter. She won't talk to me, even when faced with the evidence and her telling my son about the other man. I'm trying to put on a brave face, but it's wearing me down. I've lost 20 pounds in 4 weeks, I can't sleep, and I keep having intrusive thoughts. It's not so much self-doubt as it is sheer exhaustion. I've been awake and working for 28 hours while she's been running around and gaslighting. The latest news is that her favorite toxic friend came over yesterday. They're staying at the beach house in her family's compound and took my 12-year-old daughter with them. She texted me saying she wants to see me. That toxic friend is really the puppet master here, controlling everything. It's my wife's family's compound where she's holed up with this toxic friend at the beach house my wife owns. They're even taking my daughter to my son's football game tonight. I assured her I'd be there. I've got my voice-activated recorder with me, and I'm determined to see my daughter. This whole situation is cowardly nonsense. It's the same beach house I suggested my soon-to-be ex move to 2 weeks ago, or that she could live with her toxic friend. Tonight, I'm feeling a lot better. I showed up at the game dressed sharp. We sat separately. She had my daughter and her toxic friend with her. My daughter texted that she wanted to sit with me. When she asked her mom, she was given excuses and told no. So I went and stood at the bottom of the aisle, locking eyes with my soon-to-be ex. For the first time, she actually looked genuinely guilty. I even saw a tear. My daughter tried to get up again but was told no, so I just stood there staring at her and her friend, saying nothing. I was only 30 feet away. Eventually, my daughter came over and we had a good time together. I discovered that my soon-to-be ex now has a secret phone that she keeps in her lap, constantly texting. I felt nothing but contempt for her. She seemed so lost in her addiction. I texted her, telling her she should familiarize herself with the law before she tries to keep me from seeing my kids. After not seeing my daughter for 2 days, I feel better now and ready to face whatever comes next. I'm even considering going for full custody now that I found out about the secret phone. I turned off her regular cell and told her if the kids need her, they can call the boyfriend's line. Well, today's revelations from my voice-activated recorder show that this whole situation has been brewing for a while, orchestrated by her and her toxic friend. I was never meant to find out about the affair. I was supposed to have left 4 weeks ago when she said she wanted a quick divorce so her new guy could move in. No joke, his condo lease is ending. They're even planning to fabricate some domestic issues to get me out of the picture. Tonight, the husband of her toxic friend is supposed to confront me, claiming I'm harassing his wife. I've already spoken to my lawyer and have the recorder on me. If that doesn't work, they've got a plan B. She's starting to crack and called her lawyer today. Seriously, this is like a soap opera. Her voice sounded so cold and calculating. What a fool I've been. I'm bringing my 22-year-old son with me. He's in on the plan and knows to stay calm. Guess where my soon-to-be ex spent the day? At church, of course, with her toxic friend. They even had her new man make a guest appearance. Honestly, it's taking every ounce of self-control I have not to go to mass and play the recording for everyone. I swear, I'm not making this up. I wish every husband who suspects his wife of cheating could hear these recordings. Neither the new man nor the toxic friend's husband showed up. So I think they're just going to move ahead with Plan B on Monday, when she tries to get money to move. At least the toxic friend left, and I had a nice dinner with my kids. What I don't get is why she's still whispering with her new guy on the recordings. I mean, why bother at this point? Everyone knows my voice-activated recorder is right by my bedside with my phone. I'm eager to hear tomorrow's recordings. I finally had a full meal tonight, 9 days after D-Day. I've lost 25 pounds in 4 weeks. My horoscope today said I'd find something I lost, and I did. My self-respect. I wonder if she'll ever feel any remorse for the pain she's caused her children. Will she ever realize how low she's sunk? I find some solace in knowing that statistically, only 10% of these affairs turn into lasting relationships. I want her to feel the pain we're experiencing. Last night was rough. Nights always are, but the sun comes up eventually. I confronted her about having her new guy meet her at church yesterday and told her it was unacceptable. She finally admitted some guilt with a simple, okay, her first sign of taking responsibility. I made it clear that her new man was not to be around our children, period. I also emailed the priest to inform him of the situation. I told her if she thought she could just take my house, my kids, and my money and walk away, she had another thing coming. She insisted that our divorce was just between the two of us. I countered that it's not just us anymore. A third party has been dragged into our marriage. I spoke with my lawyer this morning, and we're planning to force her to move out this week. Her new man can move in and play house with her then. Her backup plan was to push me out, let her new man move in, and then stop paying the mortgage. It's a war of attrition. And so far, after exposing everything, I've cut off her resources. Her communication is compromised, she's rejected, and she's got a lonely husband. I couldn't care less about her feelings. All I want is for her to crash and burn and truly understand what a foolish woman she's been. I want her to feel the pain she's inflicted on her children and me. She can just kick rocks. What's astonishing is how irrational she's become over the past 9 months. One of the reasons I married her was because she wasn't like this before. Now, it's like I'm dealing with an evil doppelganger I didn't know existed. It's almost like a scene from The Exorcist. She must think I'm incredibly naive, but it's clear she's not thinking straight. She's addicted, and her solution is her new man. Our priest called her Sunday night, and she tried to gaslight him, but she's only digging herself deeper. She denied everything, but the priest knows about the evidence I have. I'm heading home to grab the voice-activated recorder before heading to the hospital for a 24-hour shift. I came back early, and she's been acting strangely, running errands, going to her lawyer's office, then coming home. She claims her lawyer advised her to take me to lunch to negotiate everything, saying her lawyer could handle it all for $1,500 and have it wrapped up in 30 days. She's now proposing a 50-50 split of the kids, half of my retirement, an equal division of debt, and permanent alimony that would take half of my income. It's as if she's so deep in denial that she's convinced herself this is fair. I told her we'd continue this conversation later. She's visibly drained and frail. I made it clear that she's free to contact her new guy openly. No need for furtive calls or sneaky messages. The fact that the kids are distancing themselves from her is clearly affecting her. Now, it's about playing the waiting game and then intensifying the pressure before the final push. Believe it or not, she asked me to clean and repair her car this afternoon and even wanted to check out my new shoes. It's almost laughable. She told me that if I truly loved her, I'd allow her the freedom to make her own choices. She's pulling out all the stops, but she looks like a shadow of her former self. Does she really think I'm that gullible? The emotional roller coaster just keeps on turning. She cooked dinner, served it, and then shifted into a sulky, irritable mood. She's upset that I've exposed the affair, which she still denies even exists. I threw the proof in her face, and she's so wrapped up in her own world that she's almost acting like a different person. I decided to disengage and hit the sack, then went off for a 24-hour shift at work. Things seemed a bit calmer afterward. We both had some harsh exchanges during our talk. It's worth noting that we rarely had major arguments throughout our marriage, which wasn't exactly healthy. This morning, she was all smiles and hyperactivity, even folding my laundry. Just yesterday, we had agreed that I should leave to keep the peace. It feels like she wanted to be caught, knowing that the only way I'd divorce her was if she was involved with someone else. She admitted she was aware of the surveillance, acknowledged the photos, and even confessed that she knew about the recordings. I'm not looking for conflict, but I made it clear that I have concrete proof of her actions. Our child still won't speak to her. It's hard to admit, but I still have feelings for her. I'm a nurturer and a healer by nature. That's just who I am. I told her we'd need to stay involved in each other's lives for the sake of our kids. I wish we'd had more honest conversations like this over the past year. Maybe we wouldn't be in this mess if we had. It seems like she's just testing me. I don't want to completely destroy her, but I did make it clear that the scale of the lies and deceit has been emotionally overwhelming for me. I mentioned the other man and said I wanted to negotiate a private settlement if that's what she's aiming for. I let her know I have the evidence to take to court, but I'd prefer not to go down that road for the sake of our family. I've hit my limit, but what I really want is to fix things. Unfortunately, she's not open to that right now. At this point, I'm just trying to buy some time. The 180 approach would be easier if the kids weren't involved, but I'm giving it a shot. I told her that the best 29 years of my life were with her, but this past year has been less than ideal. I'd say there's a slim 5 to 10% chance of mending things, but navigating this while she's still in her fog is the challenge. I've already exposed the affair. I've informed family, friends, our priest, the other man and his employer. I've agreed to a private settlement in principle, but we haven't worked out the details yet. She knows I have the evidence, and I've made it clear that I reserve the right to use it if needed. I hope this will lead to a resolution, but the alternative would be to head straight to court and fight over every detail. I've assured the kids I won't drag things into a public battle. She's agreed to give up her second phone and mention wanting to go back to school. I'm not moving out as planned. I'll either stay in our bed or sleep in another room. The idea of making her jealous has crossed my mind. My female colleagues say she'd probably lose it if she saw me with an attractive woman now. I've decided not to discuss the divorce, our relationship, or any related drama unless she brings it up. I can manage the 180 approach, but it's challenging with the kids around and given my personality type. I'm heading off for a 4-day trip to my eldest's university homecoming. My soon-to-be ex isn't coming. Our daughter made it clear that she wasn't welcome. It's shaping up to be an eventful weekend. One of her friends asked if she was really going through with the divorce. She said yes, claiming I pushed her to a breaking point. Her grievances against me over the past year were my shifting religious beliefs, my weight gain, and my alleged lack of excitement. I still attend church, but my beliefs have evolved. I spoke with our priest, who assured me that my spiritual growth is a personal journey. She, on the other hand, clings to her rigid, unchanging views. I've put on some weight recently, partly due to a less-than-ideal diet and a more sedentary lifestyle. I've also become absorbed in reading about philosophy and religion, a midlife fascination that has broadened my spiritual perspective since my 20s. This change is something she's never fully understood. On Thursday, we met to divide our household items, furniture, artwork, and so on. She then demanded 50% of my income in alimony, which made me laugh. I told her there was no chance of that happening and that we'd meet in court. For the first time, she admitted her role in our marital issues, just as I acknowledged mine. Tomorrow, I'm taking the kids to school and picking up some medicine for her. She knows I'm heading to the college homecoming with the kids. I instructed her to pack and get in the car, which she did. At the college, our daughter refused to speak to her, causing her to break down in tears. I ended up sitting between them to ease the tension. We went out for dinner and drinks. I reminded her that we'd need to share a bed so the kids wouldn't have to sleep on the floor, but I made it clear I wouldn't be engaging with her physically. That night she tried to flirt, but I didn't reciprocate. The next day, although we're still distant, we're at least talking. We attended a game, and I enjoyed the company of some lovely ladies. Later, I took her shopping. She seemed unwell and distracted. During dinner, she started sharing her food with me. Her birthday is tomorrow, but she told me not to get her a gift. One of our kids texted her, asking her to stop using me, and it left her in tears. Tomorrow, I have a meeting with a realtor at noon to secure an oceanfront condo. I still yearn for her, but her distance has become too great. So, I'm moving into the condo this week. I crave emotional connection, but it's not happening now, and it may never happen. So it's time to focus on my own issues with codependency. She handed over her second cell phone for me to keep. I know I messed up this weekend by being too nice, but my feelings for her are still strong. I can't fully commit to the 180 approach while living under the same roof, so securing the condo is essential. Our mediator suggested that she's in a state of disconnection and will hit rock bottom once I'm gone. I'm packing up and leaving on Tuesday, leaving her to fend for herself. Despite my lingering feelings, I'm hoping that with time and distance, they'll fade. She wants her freedom, but isn't willing to pay the price. Moving out will shield my kids from further drama, and, if she moves him in, my attorney can use that to our advantage. I also want to establish clear boundaries. She's had an easy ride all these years, so it's time for her to face reality. I need to focus on myself, and I can't do that while still living with her. I still love her, despite everything. I want to rebuild, but I need to be prepared to move forward with my life. There's a slim chance of reconciliation, but only if she's willing to change. I thought moving out would be the best way to find out. It's day 3 since I moved out, and I'm feeling much better. Things are looking up except for the kids' questions. The emotional roller coaster continues. I got an amazing new oceanfront condo yesterday, a beautiful 3-bedroom. One of my sons has already moved in with me. Then, while taking a walk on Ormond Beach, who should I run into but my soon-to-be ex and her new man? I turned and walked away, feeling a heavy mix of frustration and resignation. The sight of her with her new man was a stark reminder of how much had changed. To cope, I focused on myself. I treated myself to a new car, and while I was getting some flirty messages online, it was just a way to lift my spirits. I've shed a significant amount of weight, dropping from 250 to 218 pounds through hard work and dedication. I updated my wardrobe and got a fresh haircut, feeling like a new man. In contrast, she seems to be deteriorating. I haven't signed any agreements yet and told her to send the documents to my lawyer for review. My top priority now is the kids. She agreed to let me have them for the entire week, and I'm planning to create some new holiday traditions to make up for lost time. Things are looking up for me. I'm enjoying my time with the kids and have met some interesting women on Match. Having dinner with them has been refreshing, and I've found camaraderie with one who's been through similar issues with her ex. In the last month, I've experienced more joy than I have in years. I'm keeping things light and casual, dating several women for social outings. I've also lost 40 pounds, bought a new surfboard, and am thoroughly embracing the beach lifestyle. As for my soon-to-be ex, our interactions are limited to necessary discussions about the kids and finances. Everyone around says she looks miserable. Perhaps it's the universe's way of balancing things. I offered a fair settlement and split the property equally, but her demands for an unreasonable alimony amount were a deal-breaker. She ended up filing for divorce, armed with a lawyer who doesn't seem up to the task. When the moving van arrived to take my share of the belongings, she was clearly shaken. Unbeknownst to her, her boyfriend has been keeping me informed. She's been leaving our 12-year-old daughter alone to spend time with him. I've gathered more evidence and reached out to the bishop, requesting her removal from her roles as a Eucharistic minister and Sunday school teacher. They had planned a cruise this week, mistakenly thinking the divorce would be wrapped up by now. Her boyfriend went alone last night, and she's now frantically telling him she's losing everything. She's aware that I have the kids and a new house, my 4th one, intended to provide stability for them. What hurts is seeing her rewrite the history of our marriage, trying to paint a different picture of our life together. She's been spreading a lot of lies about me, telling people I was a great doctor, but a terrible father and husband. She even told church members that I was abusing medication. All of this to justify her new relationship with a guy she met on the beach back in May. On a brighter note, things are looking up for me. I've settled into a beautiful waterfront home and have shared custody of the kids. I've also started seeing someone new. She's 41, I'm 53, and she's a stunning blonde with 2 daughters from her late husband. She's a lawyer, and her family owns the local bank. It's almost too good to be true. My soon-to-be ex is clearly not pleased with my new girlfriend, disparaging her as a blonde bimbo. Meanwhile, she's still with her boyfriend, who's apparently starting to distance himself as our court date approaches. We're heading into mediation soon, but she's already taken me to court on April 15th, demanding temporary spousal support. Despite the $6,500 a month I've been providing since October, she's claiming it's not enough. She's lost a lot of weight, down to 113 pounds, and looks unwell. In court, she demanded $10,000 a month, but the judge awarded her $4,500 and ordered her to pay half the mortgage. When she argued that she couldn't afford it, the judge asked if she had another place to live. Her reaction was priceless. She looked utterly stunned. Florida is set to end permanent alimony on July 1st, which is putting her in a tough spot. Karma seems to be catching up with her. The female judge saw right through her adulterous claims, and the kids are still avoiding her. Her support network has dwindled to just her sister and cousin, and even her sister sees how badly she's doing. She started drinking heavily, and has told her boyfriend she doesn't want the case to go to open court. I made sure to inform the judge about her affair to ensure everything is on record. Her attorney attempted to discredit my relationship with my new girlfriend, accusing me of spending money on her. I looked straight at my soon-to-be ex and replied, "No, she's wealthy and takes care of me." My attorney is now planning to depose her before May 30th, aiming to pressure her into settling out of court for around $3,000 to $3,500. Additionally, I'm pursuing my share of the real estate holdings she inherited 25 years ago, which I've been paying taxes on and improving. She'll either have to buy me out or forfeit her alimony. I'm doing great, enjoying a peaceful evening on my dock, smoking a cigar while my girlfriend and kids watch TV inside. Meanwhile, my ex is left to deal with the fallout of her choices. She and her lover are now at odds, according to her boyfriend. To top it off, she walked into the same sushi bar where my kids and I were enjoying a meal with my beautiful lawyer girlfriend. It almost feels too good to be true. The kids ignored her, and she ended up eating alone. Mediation predictably hit a deadlock, so we're heading to court. She's been stalling, realizing that the temporary support she's receiving is the best she can hope for, and things will only get worse from here. It's fitting, given the mess she's created. Life is good, and I'm counting my blessings every day. My lawyer is preparing to depose my ex and her lover, and yes, I'll be there. She discarded a 30-year marriage, family, and long-term friends, and rewrote our history. I wonder how she'll feel a year from now. I suspect her resentment is partly due to my girlfriend being beautiful and 12 years younger. My ex nearly jumped out of her chair when my girlfriend testified about our recent trip to my daughter's college parents' weekend. Update: Judgment Day has arrived. I'm officially divorced. My ex ended up with just a little over half of what she initially demanded in permanent monthly alimony. In Florida, the court has ruled that she must cover $500 per child for their medical, orthodontic, and dental expenses, and she's responsible for 49% of these costs. The amusing part is that during mediation, she was offered non-modifiable alimony, a deal where she could have remarried and still receive support until she turned 70. She turned it down, and I bet she's regretting that decision now. It's been half a year, and things are going well. My girlfriend and I are engaged and working through the complexities of blending our families. We're trying to get our 4 teenage girls, 2 from my side and 2 from hers, to get along, and it's improving. Meanwhile, my ex looks like she's been struggling. People say they barely recognize her. She's lost weight, her ribs are showing, and her face is sunken and wrinkled. My father passed away in July at the age of 93. Suddenly, my ex started reaching out, wanting to be there for me. She showed up at the funeral home visitation for 2 hours, and then spent 4 hours at my parents' house after the funeral. I ignored her, much to my fiancé's fury. The only lingering emotional issue I have is that my ex keeps showing up at my kids' football games, despite the fact that my kids won't interact with her at all. The urge to confront her for the pain she caused my children is strong. It's a public space, so I try to keep my composure, but her presence is a constant reminder of the past. Last week, she asked if I was there to sit with her and our other child, which I did since it was the child's birthday. She also invited me to our kid's birthday dinner and kept acting as if we had no history. To top it off, she made a big show of handing me a $192 check for our older son's college tuition, even though I told her to mail it. She even drove it to my house. I'm left wondering what her game is. Is she just a narcissist seeking attention? I can't make sense of her behavior. She's never really offered a genuine apology. Right after D-Day, I admitted that I hadn't met her emotional needs, contributing to the downfall of our marriage. She mumbled an agreement through fake tears. But after that, it was all venom and lies, as she tried to justify her actions and her friendship. In contrast, her new man handled the entire affair like a pro. He came out on top, and she slithered away just as she always was. I hope he's found happiness with his new partner, wherever they are and whatever they're doing. From where I stand, it seems she threw everything away for nothing. What does she have now? A cheating partner, no kids, and a vanished lifestyle. Meanwhile, she has to watch as her ex moves on with a new girlfriend and builds a new life. It's a fitting outcome for her actions.